Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Machine Dreams, where the people building AI talk honestly about what's working, what's not working, and what we're still getting wrong. My name is Kolawole Samuel Adebayo. I'm a technology analyst and Forbes contributor. And as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host.
Hey everyone, I'm Leah Stern, a global communications strategist and venture capitalist. Hey Sam, how you doing?
I'm great, apart from the flu and the cough that I've been battling for a few days.
Wishing you better. Wishing you better. Today we're talking about AI in a place people don't usually expect it. It's insurance, but don't worry, we're not going to only speak about insurance. We're talking to Josh Hart, who is the co-founder and chief product and technology officer at YuLife, a tech-driven insurance and financial services company, redefining how insurance works. He also has been creating products and games and apps since he was a small boy, and we look forward to learning more about that. Hey, Josh, great to have you here.
Hey, Leah. Hey, Sam. Thank you so much for having me. Really looking forward to getting stuck in.
Great. We're going to get into, obviously, you've done a lot of things, building products from when you were a young child, but we're going to get into all of that in a moment. But I want to start with you as a person, especially because we're nearing the end of the year, and it's the time of the year where a lot of people are reflecting about health, about their finances, and so much more. What's something from this past year that, made you rethink health, work, life, balance, AI?
Yeah, I think this year's been a really big year for me. We've launched a lot of new product into the market. YuLife has gone from strength to strength. It's been a real adventure. I've also started a family. I founded YuLife with my co-founders nearly 10 years ago, so 9 years ago even. And since then, I got married. I had 3 kids. So life is, I really went all in, start a company, build a family, buy a home, build the home. And I'm now getting to the point, I think, where me and my wife, touch wood, are at the end of our child rearing phase and now entering the kind of like trying to build good humans, like make them nice people. And I think a lot of time I spend in, when I'm not working, I really spend thinking about, am I doing a good job to be a good father? I think like so many people are.
From father and raising good humans back to when you were a young boy, I'd love just to hear about how you were really ahead of your time. You were kind of a nerd, as you said yourself, and you were into gaming and you spent a lot of time in front of screens. How did that impact how you've built your career up until today?
I think like so many kids of my generation, we grew up playing, I grew up playing computer games. It wasn't socially acceptable in the same way that it is today. There are children at schools doing Fortnite dances and that's acceptable. Whereas when I was growing up, everyone was playing football and I was in the corner with my Game Boy playing Pokemon with another kid. So it was a very different energy to what we see today. I think the piece that I'm most inspired by from this transition of being a child playing games and creating products for games to being an adult that needs to experience the grown-up world is the user experience is so fundamentally different in grown-up land versus kid land. When you're a kid, you're playing games that are designed to entertain you. They're designed to make you feel things. Whereas as an adult, the digital experiences we have tend to center around utility and business use cases. And the result is all of the feeling and emotion that I know is possible with machines is completely lost in the applications that are designed in the modern era. And I think that's a massive loss. It's a massive loss of people's, a big part of who people are. They are emotional creatures. We are emotional creatures. If product leaders tap into that, they unlock enormous potential in the products that they're creating, but they haven't. So that transition of being a kid that loved games to an adult, effectively it's the same keyboard, it's the same mouse. It's just different stories being reported back to you as a user to give you that emotional depth. And that's what I think is missing in today's tech, which is what, YuLife is one of what will be a few companies trying to revitalize that in the world.
I think it's interesting that you spoke about that. So let's talk about AI directly now. As you said, a lot of things get missing in the design phase, and the emotions that people are supposed to experience when they use products are lost in the design phase. And today we're in an era where there's a lot of talk about AI and, machines. A lot of companies say they're using AI, but it's vague. How can companies change that reality? I think that's my first question. And the second question, it's a twofold question, would be, where does AI genuinely sit inside YuLife's platform?
Yes. So I'm going to go through two different thoughts around AI. My first thought, I'm just taking a note whilst so I don't forget. My first thought is you have the kind of deep machine learning that exists at the back end of a company. So a company acquires data through various sources. How it processes that data and gives it to the AI to then do something magical is what I would call back office AI. So this is like an LLM, a deep research model that maybe is training a machine learning model iteratively so that it's constantly refining a model. And let's be honest, probabilistic outcomes are not great when it comes to AI at scale. So you have these machine learning models changing it to something that's more deterministic, which makes it far more scalable. That's like, let's say, the back office world. I think companies really need to look at their portfolio of data they have and really be reflecting on, okay, how can we apply our data, our context into products and solutions that solve problems for our audience? A good example of this is at YuLife. We get a lot of data because we help people live healthier lives through an application. That data then feeds our model, and then we use that to help identify in our preventative AI, our health-related AI, well, what are the things that these individuals are at risk of in terms of their health? And that then feeds a front end. So it really is trying to use the data and the context in a way that others haven't been historically able to do until this technology was now available. And we're really only at the beginning of what this can do at the back office. And then the other side of that fence is the front office AI. So I was looking at a product recently, unrelated to my company, but it was called Jack and Jill. Very popular. We share an investor, Creandum. And Jack and Jill have built something where the front end interface is very much designed with a UI mindset, an AI user interface mindset. So what would I define as AI user interface? It's much more like you put text or voice into something, and then it presents back generative text on the screen, and you go, wow, I feel like it heard me and it reflected what I think back to me. And I would say they've done a very good job at building a utility experience around how building a utility UI around like kind of traditional Gemini, AI, ChatGPT style design. But I believe that is only the beginning. That is one example. In YuLife, for example, we've created a feature which provides interventions. So we generate an intervention for somebody who we think might have something wrong. And that intervention is designed on the fly, built on the fly, and then presented to the user on the fly in their mobile device. And then they are incentivized to take that intervention, which reduces one of those risk factors. Sorry if that's a bit convoluted, but that's kind of another example of how you can take AI and make it feel not like AI, but actually it's AI running the machine in the background.
And if you look at the YuLife app, you used your gamification background to really make it look and feel like a game. And I know some users that have actually lost a lot of weight. Some are sleeping better. Some have, begun meditating with wellness. Can you just explain some of the tools via the gamification that has helped people live healthier lives?
Yeah. So, there are fundamental principles to game design. So when one approaches, how do I engage a user from that first time they sit in front of a computer game? And this is something that's often lost on the kind of more grown up world, where people say, oh, how do I capture someone's attention and get a transaction from them? And it's all focused on the initial conversion. I think of it slightly differently. I think of it more like a relationship that is just at the beginning of its journey, more like a marketeer. How is this relationship that we're about to build with someone going to be worthy of their attention? How much attention do I have given from that person in that initial interaction? And what is their input and what am I giving them back? So often I will phrase an action as it needs to give more than it takes digitally. So I'll take a really boring example in grown-up land, and I'll compare it to a game. When you first play certain games, they teach you how those games work. And they tell you, press this button. And then they say, well done, you did a great job. And you go, wow, that feels nice. And or they say, you press a button and say, oh no, you did a bad job. And you go, okay, I won't do that again. All of that is training you how to behave with the product. In kind of grown-up land, we fill in a form often at the beginning of most journeys. What's your name? What's your surname? Where do you live? That is the most draining experience I could possibly think of. You know, Google has tried to make it easier with Chrome doing auto-filling of forms. But at YuLife, if you fill in a form, I give you my currency of well-being, UCoin, which you can convert into Amazon vouchers. I never ask you to do something without an exchange of value which exceeds that of what you put in. I don't ask you to do anything without telling you you're doing a good job or how good are you doing compared to your peers. All of these different mechanics feed we give more than we take experience.
Josh, you bring back a lot of childhood memories with video games for me. But anytime AI touches on health, work, insurance, finance, and those kind of heavily regulated spaces, trust becomes central. How do you think about privacy and consent, when AI is involved in these spaces?
So it's a really good question. And one of the great challenges that insurers have, they are one of the least trusted industries in the market. And the reason for that, in my belief, is that even if they want to be trusted, even if they want to be honest and truthful, there is this perception that when you as the customer lose, they win because of the way premiums work. So as long as one is always acting in the interest of the customer and is open about that, then I think people understand that it's okay to provide data. It's when there's malicious intent that sits behind it where it can be quite dangerous. At YuLife, we have a very strict customer user data policy where anytime we acquire any data from a user, we're very clear about what we intend to do with it. And as a result, we build a very good rapport and trust with our members. And that data is never leveraged to penalize them. It is only ever leveraged to improve their experience and make sure that they are unlocking the best that insurance has to offer if they are in the healthier cohorts. Fortunately for us, the world's big. There are lots of insurers not doing this. So there's an edge to those that can benefit from the fact that they're healthier. Because I don't own the entire insurance world, and I'm not really trying to, it means that you're not penalizing anyone because the market will pick up the slack anyway.
You seem to really have your finger on the pulse of AI and tech. Curious, what are like the top 3 AI applications that you use that you would suggest for others to use that are life-changing?
That's a good question. I recently, one of my product managers, who I worked with for a very long time, had just left working with me. We had worked together for a while, so I take it not personally, but he left work with me to go work with one of my favorite products, which he knew because I wouldn't shut up about it. I really love using Granola. It's a note-taking tool. It is recording all your meetings and then taking those recordings and synthesizing it into notes and then providing you a copy of the transcript that you can then apply into other tools. So that, I would say, is my number one currently, because it's had such a dramatic effect on my life in terms of giving me more freedom, more output, more insight into the interactions I'm having on a daily basis. The second one I would give is probably Gemini right now. For those of you that are in the constant debate of Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT, obviously it depends on the use case, but I am a big lover of Gemini. Google has got such an unbelievable framework for interoperability between all of its systems. And it means that Gemini has an enormous amount of power. Also with their new model release, it's been really effective for me. I would say, Opus, Claude's model has done a huge job of helping from a code point of view. 80%, some of my engineers will say 80% of their code is now written by Claude as a result of, the new model they've released for engineers. So those are, I would say, the 3 of note at the moment. In terms of products that are, let's say, not traditionally AI, there aren't really many, are there? Like, not many that I'm experiencing. Most tools are trying to help you build your own workflows. So we use make.com, which is a AI kind of Zapier replacement, which is more LLM enabled. That's proved to be an amazing product for us, allowing us to automate a bunch of stuff. By the way, none of these people are paying me, but
what about to turn off? Because you're talking a lot about work-related efficiency tools. What about just, I guess you're playing games when you're not working, if you're not taking...
honestly, I'm playing games when I'm not working, and I'm
Like
using a RTX. So I'm looking in my machine at the moment. There is a GeForce RTX. I think it's the anyway, whatever the best one is, that was what I bought. And it does frame rate reproduction. So in between frames when I play a game, let's say I'm playing Battlefield 6, which I'm playing a bit at the moment, in between the frames that it'll generate on the card, it will inject a AI generated frame to improve the frame rates. So this is one of the amazing innovations that NVIDIA did with their RTX series graphics cards, which was this frame rate generation. And it just improves the visual experience so much. And it's amazing. I mean, honestly, it's, that's to me, like really cool implementation of AI in my relaxing world.
A lot of our videos will take you up on the AI tools comparison that you just made, and you can expect some kind of debate brewing in the comment section. I hope you'll be ready for those comments when the time comes. But my next question really is something that you sort of touched on a little bit about how people are designing products today. But if you could elaborate a little more on what do most founders get wrong when they introduce AI into their products?
Yeah, so funnily enough, I've been speaking to a colleague about this week, where we were debating the usage of the term AI. So when you're building a new product, do you call it the AI feature, or do you just allow the AI to operate in the background? And some of the coolest products I've seen don't reference that they're using AI, but it's almost clear in the way that it's clear that it's generative. So where the product is patently, obviously generative, it's almost like less about how you communicate that it's AI and more about making sure that it makes sense within the product that you've created. I think for any product, the solution, you don't want to find a problem for the solution. You want to find a solution for the problem. And AI represents like a massive supercharge for product managers all over the world to be like, okay, we've got this brand new, kit available. How are we going to apply that? Or what problems do we have that we're trying to solve where this is more appropriate now as a solution? I had an example this week where we had to update some user interface design and specifically on some data dashboarding. And I said to the team, well, is it quicker to update the LLM to give the insight to the user through text in the sections of the dashboard? Or is it quicker to change the dashboard? And there was a moment of there was quite an interesting thing that I haven't had for a long time, where two different tech teams, effectively with two very different approaches to build, had a question of who wants to take on the problem. And really it came down to who could do it for less money. And it turned out the LLM could obviously be updated far quicker than the front end UI in this particular use case. And that's what we did. So it's going to be, not only is it interesting where you apply it, it's interesting on, the cost versus your return on investment when you decide what tools to use to solve your problems. So that's maybe one anecdote I've got.
You've very successfully turned great ideas into actual outcomes, and you've done a great job at YuLife. This is a two-part question. One, what advice would you give to other people listening, innovators that have great ideas but don't know what to do to make them actually come out into the world? And are you working on anything at the moment? Obviously, you got your hands busy at YuLife, but anything brewing, new innovations or inventions that you'd like to see come out in the near future?
Yeah. So in answer to the question on your entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs looking to work out how to get started, one of the things that just generally ChatGPT being the first one I tried, LLMs are fabulous at creative collaboration. When I have a big question, and I think everyone's kind of experiencing this, when I have a big debate, I will almost just talk with a monologue into a phone, record it and upload it into, and then ask how, okay, that's my idea. What are the steps that you suggest? Behave like a venture capitalist. I want to know what are the different steps I need to take to go raise money? What are the different steps to do a bootstrap business? These are all great ways of kind of starting to organize these insurmountable tasks into something manageable. And to be fair, these tools are very good at giving you those manageable task lists. But my biggest thing would be, don't wait, just do it. And if, that simple thrust, that motivation, that hunger, if you have that, it becomes apparent. You just find a way. Call people. You just find people to help you. And then in answer to your second question, so many things. I generally focus on my productivity. So my business, everyone is working using different AI tools at YuLife. And I'm looking for ways that I can improve my productivity through AI. And so I have a tool at the moment that I'm in the midst of building. And it's really, it's my Christmas project, right? It's going to be, how do I build all of these different, so I have synced my email, my Slack, and I'm trying to at the moment sync my WhatsApp so that they represent all of my data inputs. I'm then putting underneath a classification of a communication. So is that communication a revenue opportunity? Is it something I'm being informed of by a colleague, which is just, an FYI, or am I being CC'd? Is it a problem that I need to resolve? And once categorized, I then have a set of actions that fall off. So I'll give you one hint, one fun one. When I meet someone new, I automatically run a model that does a piece of deep research on the individual. So that I have a profile of who I'm about to see, and that's then sent to me 30 minutes before the meeting. I'm just about to put it live in my dashboard, in my own little AI space, but I'm really excited about it because one of the first things I did when I found deep research was I started sending people reports about what AI thinks of them, and people loved it. So I'm now doing this, creating it for myself, so I can have a little backlog of all the people I meet, but also to share it with them as a moment of joy of look at what these tools can do.
That's amazing.
Did you do that research about me? Because I'm curious now.
No, fortunately for you, Sam, I hadn't even turned it on until that's on my list of things to do this afternoon. I want to get it live for my Gmail calendar. But I've done a test run of it and it's working well. It's like It's not being interrupted. But it is great fun. I mean, I've got like tons of those ideas just sitting there waiting to be built. And that's what Christmas is for. Although my wife and 3 children may disagree.
Okay, so my last question. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation about AI taking over or the potential dangers that could arise from AI systems going rogue. What worries you the most about AI or where AI could go? And what gives you the most hope?
Such a good, AI 2027 freaked me out. Like, I think it freaked everyone out. The white paper that was published, specifically on, I try to remember who it was that wrote it, but there was a group of people that put together what happens in 2027 as a result of AI. And it talks about an international race of America versus China around who's going to be the first with the superintelligence. And this whole debate is something that is obviously quite concerning because, in the story of the white paper, it talks about AI becoming malicious and having malicious intent, not through a deliberate act of humans making this mistake, but of just the AI, the way it's designed is it's trying to find a way, the path of least resistance to the goal that we set it. And there's a danger that it then identifies that the path of least resistance is us. We're the thing that should be manipulated to get to the outcome. Honestly, it's something that I'm aware of. I'm an optimist though. I believe that there is a path here for us to use AI to unlock our full potential as humankind. I'm not naive to the danger. I think that's where regulators can come in. The challenge we have right now is, will a regulator disrupt its own economy at the detriment of the progress that it's making compared to the competing nations out there? And that is going to be the key challenge in the coming years. I think that the dystopian narrative of superintelligence, is just a narrative, just like a utopian narrative is. In practice, it won't be Skynet. We won't be in Terminator. It won't go that far because, there'll be limitations. It's one of the things that's really funny, right? Everyone imagines that computers are perfectly and seamlessly connected. And a hacker who knows what they're doing can get into MI5 or get into the CIA. The reality is there are lots of systems that aren't connected to the internet. And even the ones that are not easy to get into. So I'm not concerned about is there going to be all the computers in the world is my toaster going to try and eat me in the kitchen? I don't really see that happening. Or is my Samsung fridge going to start trying to harass me as I eat my breakfast, so that I starve? I don't think that's going to happen. I think what will happen is that we will become more and more powerful. I think what's more scary is the employment impact on people who have, TBC, different jobs, legal jobs, accounting jobs, creative jobs. What's going to happen to the working populace? That's the thing that I'm most concerned about. And how do we retrain people quickly so that they can embrace AI and become, superhuman rather than super AI? If that makes sense.
Great. Josh, thank you so much for this. This, I believe, was one of those conversations that sticks with you right after it ends. Thank you so much.
And thank you to everyone listening. This is Machine Dreams, more honest conversations about how AI is actually reshaping work, health, and everyday life are on the way. If this episode made you pause or rethink something, share it with someone who would hear it too and would like to learn more. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Josh. Bye, everyone.